Hi, I'm Karen Burniston here with a Pop and Cuts tutorial. This is a little winter Christmas card, and you can see the snowflake through the window on the front of the card, but then when you open it, that is actually a chain of snowflakes that expands. From the dies that I designed for Stampin' Up, I'm going to use the Pop and Cuts card base, the label Pop and Cuts insert, and the Deco label framelets. And then the other Stampin' Up main supply I'm going to use is the Festive Flurry stamp set, and there is a matching framelit set that fits that as well. Now to make this chain, you're going to need 12 snowflakes, and so I went ahead and used vellum. That way it would not get too bulky. And what I did is I used a Versamarking so it would stay wet long enough for me to dump that silver embossing powder over all of those snowflakes so that I could heat emboss 10 at a time. Then I'm going to run that through the Big Shot, cutting out those snowflakes using the matching framelit set from the Festive Flurry bundle. Now you need 12 of these, so if it's getting tedious to do this one at a time, since this is vellum, you can see through it. So what you can do is you can layer 2 snowflakes together, and then since the magnetic platform makes that die hold into place so well, it actually is easy to cut these out 2 at a time. And then once you have 12 of them, then you can go ahead and start chaining them together. So what I find easiest is to use the mini glue dots. And I'm going to turn over one of my snowflakes and add a mini glue dot in the center of that snowflake. And then I'm going to take another one face down over the top and press that in the center. So I've just connected these 2 snowflakes together, and they're only connected in the center. Okay, for the outside one, because the snowflake is so dainty, cutting the glue dots in half will not only make it easier, but it'll save you a few glue dots. And what you're going to do is choose 2 opposite outer spokes. So it doesn't matter where, but just choose one. And add your little half a glue dot out there on that one. And then put the other little half glue dot out on the opposite spoke. So whichever one you choose, just go straight opposite of it. And then again, another snowflake face down on top. So what we've done is we've chained these 3 together. The first 2 are connected in the center, but the second 2 are connected on the outside. Okay, great. Now back to the center again. So we're going to take another mini glue dot, stick it in the center of the back of that snowflake. The next snowflake goes face down right over the top of that glue dot, and we press it down. Now we've chained 3 of them together. Then we're going to cut a glue dot in half. That usually ends up with half on the scissors, but that's okay. Then we're going to take one half of the glue dot and choose an outside spoke. It kind of makes your chain more interesting if you choose 2 different outside spokes than the one underneath. So if you just always check it as you go, then you'll be able to alternate the location of those outside spoke connections. Back to the center again, a glue dot in the center, face down snowflake over the top of that. And you can see now how this is all chaining together. You're just going alternate. You're going in the center and then 2 outside spokes. And now I'm going to continue that whole process to chain all of them together. And because it's vellum, it's actually not too bulky when the chain is closed, but see how nicely it expands. For my pop-up card, I decided I wanted that vellum to carry through into the interior of the card as well. So what I did is I cut a strip of Whisper White cardstock, and then I stamped and embossed the same silver snowflakes just randomly onto that piece. Then I took a piece of vellum and stamped a larger snowflake using Pool Party ink onto the vellum, and again, just kind of random locations. And then I used spray adhesive all over the back of the vellum. And then when I layer that down over the white one, it will stick really well everywhere. I'm basically bonding those 2 pieces together to make a layered look. Now, normally when you use the Pop and Cut space, you're probably, if you're like me, you tend to put the insert on the side that has most of the magnetic plate. But for this technique, go ahead and put it on the other end. Your tick marks are still going to line up in the middle. You're still going to use your extended cutting pads, roll it through like usual. But that way, when you put it face down, you'll get the correct orientation to have a sideways pop-up card with the decorative edge on the front. Pop and Cuts cards are just a simple box pop-up. You look for where the box starts, I like to say where it touches the wall, and get your fingers behind there and really pinch that fold to bring that box out into the card. Then you're going to pinch it next to the labels and fold the card closed. So very simple to make that little box pop up. And then this is a sideways card, so you'll see now the orientation of it. It will close and open from a sideways position. I used a piece of paper from the Winter Frost paper stack, and I just trimmed the width of it to 4 1/4 so that it would match my card. And then all I'm doing is taking a tape runner on the back of the card, just right around the pop-up. And then I'll start on the back of the card, just making sure that my backing card covers my adhesive. So that's where I'm going to start. Then I flip the card over and fold that card around the fold and give it a good press. And then for adhering it, I just lift the backing card up, take my tape runner right around the pop-up area. I should be able to go a little bit further out with the adhesive based on where my backing card will go, and then just press it down. Now I want to cut a decorative window into the front of the card so I can view my snowflake chain. And I need to place that framelit so that it will match up with the pop-up when the card is closed. So here's my trick. You take the smallest framelit, place it on top of the pop and cut so that the blade is up. So the blade is up right now. And then I'm going to carefully close that card, pinch it so that it doesn't move. And then on my cutting pad that's on my magnetic platform, I'm going to place that now face down. Then I should be able to carefully lift up the card, and you see what has happened. The framelit has transferred to the other half of the card in the correct position so that after die cutting, the hole should line up perfectly with the front of the pop-up. I'll switch now to the next size up framelit. That's the second smallest, and use a piece of window sheet to die cut that. So that's going to be the window pane for my little opening. Now I'll go back to another piece of that winter frost paper, nest my two smallest framelits together, and cut myself a little frame that can kind of cover the edges of that clear one. And all of this just is going to go layered right onto the front of the card around that opening. And I also added some of that little white lace tape to the edge between the papers. Adding the snowflake chain inside the card is really easy. Just check on the top one. It's probably, yes, that's right. We had done a center connection between the first two, so then you would want outer connection to the back of the window. So again, I'm just going to take my little half glue dots, and I'm going to choose two outside spokes and add those glue dots to it. Then I'll open up the card and then place that snowflake chain down against that window pane and give it a good press. And then let me just check the last connection. Yep, I can see that it was a center connection. So again, I'm going to use the outer spoke connection. So I'll take glue dots. This time I really could just use full glue dots and just kind of get them as close as I can to the outside. I don't have to necessarily cut those in half. Choose two outer spokes, add my little glue dots, and then now just close the card against that exposed adhesive, and it'll attach the other end of the chain to the top of the pop-up. I think what's cool about this card is that when you look at it in the closed position, you kind of have no idea that that's going to happen, and I always think that's fun. Okay, a little piece of pattern paper strip just on the left-hand side, just for some continuity. I think mine's about 3/4 of an inch wide, and trim off the excess. I've got a couple leftover labels. You can see them on the table there, and one of them is the white vellum pattern because that's the one that came out of the window from the front of the card. So I'll go ahead and use that one for my greeting. And I stamped in basic black ink a greeting from the Joyful Christmas set, and then I'm just going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to put that inside the card. One of my favorite features about the Stampin' Up! Pop and Cuts base is that it does have that little built-in closure, those little tuck slots. And what's nice about that is that when your recipient pulls that out of the envelope, they're not going to get an accidental reveal. They're not going to know that that snowflake expands until they undo the card and then open it up. And isn't that a fun card? You can think of all sorts of other types of chains you could make using this technique. How about some flowers or some hearts, just anything like that. And all you're going to do is alternate your connection point between the centers and the outside edges. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can always get more ideas on my blog, KarenBurniston.com. Thanks for watching.